Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let
Thrive.
Thrive.
What's up, Myka? Man,
I'm chilling, Stevie Stacks. How you doing?
I am doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's been a hectic week. Hectic couple weeks. You know, Lupita had knee surgery. My wife, Lupita, had knee surgery, so I've been mom, dad, and caretaker at the house, and plus, working full time and trying to run a business. It's been, you know how it is. You always got 1,000 things going on, so I know you feel me.
Living that life.
But it's worth it, right? It's worth it in the end because we're doing something. We're advancing, and that's what it's all about. It's about living, letting, and thriving.
Yes, sir.
And we are on this should be episode 163, correct?
Yes, sir.
Of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, home away, real estate, share economy podcast in the world, and coming at you from Fort Worth and Arlington, Texas.
What it do, what it do.
What it do. And we have a special guest on the show. And his name is Bruna Villaseca. Or it says on the screen Villaseca, but in Spanish you would say Villaseca. So Bruna Villaseca is on the show, and he's gonna blow y'all all away with his amazing thing that he's doing to help people keep track of the most important thing in your short-term rental journey is the money, is the cash flow. So he's gonna show us how to do that. Give it up for Bruno.
What up, Bruno? How you doing?
Hello. What's up? All
What's
good
up?
here.
Nice.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Huh?
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on, man. Where are you exactly?
Right now, I'm in Berlin.
Berlin?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What are you doing
Germany.
in Berlin? What are you doing over there in Berlin?
Well, actually not that much with this pandemic. I'm just working, but hopefully it get passed on soon so I can actually do some stuff in quite an interesting city, no?
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. I hear. I've never been, but Germany's nice. So quickly, let's dive into it, man. What got you started in the short-term rental industry?
Well, that has to do with me starting back home. I'm from Chile, South America. So I started my studies there as an industrial engineer, and while I'm started my career, it started with an American company. It was a startup back in Chile. And they were doing long term at that point, but they decided to just give it a go to short-term rentals, right? With a new division in the company, and then this very cool dude, serial entrepreneur VJ, was the boss in my time. He just decided that I was a good candidate, and after some interviewing, I was hopping on into that big project of the new division of the company, and I was in charge of the whole project of the new division, and I started doing the new units and stuff, always with the engineering and analytics background as an engineer, right? But then I decided to go a little more into it because I think just the industry has so much to give, and it's not new, but also not that mature yet. There are still many things coming, and I just got involved into it, and then I just keep developing new experience and skills. I moved from that company, but many things happened there. So um, how do you want to proceed? Do you want just a whole review of how I got into the industry and where I am now, or you want me to develop further into that first stage?
Yeah. So did you get your own rentals, or you were just managing for other people? How did it work?
Well, actually, it started kind of there. You know, I got very interested about this business, and I'm like, well, these numbers are running kind of cool, and I want to give it a go. So I'm a numbers guy, so let's run it, right?
Mm.
So I got this partnership with this Argentinian guys, my investor, and we started to give it a go, and actually things were going pretty well. And well, at that time for the company, I started doing what I'm doing right now, which is my own project. That was the very beginning when I started pretty much like handling around, because I was aiming toward performance, and I realized that one thing is running the unit, and another thing is like optimizing everything to make that unit profitable. And that's where it all started. So I started running every single number I could as a numbers guy, and started to doing all these KPIs and optimization for it. And that's where it happened. I had the first version of what I have right now as my own projects, and it actually turned out very well because numbers went super good, and things started to go up very fast at the company. So we started to just like keep getting new units and new units and new units. And at the same time, I just got this investor, and I jumped in with my units as well.
Okay. Question for you, because you touched a key. You said a key word that I love. You said KPI. What right now do you have? What is one of your KPIs right now to let you know that you're going to keep a unit or let a unit go?
If I have to pick just one of them,
Yeah, just one. Hey, this KPI right here, this unit ain't worth it. Let it go. What's one of them?
for me,
Before you do that, can you explain what a KPI is to our audience that might not know?
Great.
yeah, it's well, of course, KPI or key performance indicators are that specific number you wanna take a look at. It's the insights of the business. So if let's just keep it simple, if that number is running well, it's a good indicator that your business is probably going to do well. That's why they call it key performance indicators. So depending on the industry, you will have different KPIs. And let's say for hotels, for example, they dig very deep on the RevPAR.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on what you're doing. Specifically for short-term rentals, to answer your question, for me, it has a lot to do with the occupancy. That's super important, but there's no such thing for me as just one of them. Like they really need to be mixed. So um, there are plenty of things to do and insights to look at, but occupancy is like one of the first things I look at. I look at the occupancy of that specific area, and I look at the occupancy, the potential occupancy of a unit.
Now, which is more important, RevPAR or occupancy? And can you also explain what RevPAR is for the audience? Very important.
Yeah, well, RevPAR is for the hotel industry revenue per available room, right? So it's pretty much the total revenue that can come into you per all the available rooms you have to sell in a certain time period. So like the more RevPAR you have, the more money you're bringing in pretty much to that hotel. In the case of short-term rentals, it acts kind of similar. I run it per unit and as a whole. So you can subdivide per areas as well if you want to dig specific on a certain location. For example, if we have some units in Texas or some others in like North Pacific West, they're going to behave different. So like maybe in order to compare with the same you know, units, your competition, you can just like see those inside for specific locations, but more or less it's just like an overall, the more the better, right?
Mm-hmm. Got you. And you said you have units. What part of Texas are you in? Do you have units?
Oh, no, I personally don't have units in Texas, but but the guy that's my boss right now, I'm working at Elevate Travel. It's a very interesting project that's growing now. We're getting ready for this pandemic to be over. We started in pandemic. We are young startup where we have under management more than 500 properties. But the owner, very interesting dude, Derek. He has many units all over Texas. He has 40 plus units right now at this point, and he's expanding very fast. And he wants to move to other places in the U.S. as well. I just named it Texas randomly because of that. I personally don't have my units in Texas, but I do have to handle some of them or some information related to them.
So what kind of units does he run? I mean, you said he has like 40 in Texas. Like, does he have does he get apartments? Does he get condos?
Arbitrage. It's just arbitrage in Dallas, pretty much.
Really? That's where we're at. So like, but I know it's arbitrage, but like, what kind of, is he doing houses or just doing apartments? How does he get them?
Well, most of them are houses, and soon in the future, there might be some like multi-family. I'm not sure, because like it's on development, but he's just like very into the business. I just started to work closely with him after the business just like started. So specifically in terms of the contracts, I am not just close to that. I'm more in the performance area. So like if you ask me how is he getting them specifically, I couldn't tell you that information.
So can you tell me one thing? Y'all spoke of RevPAR, and it's like revenue, per unit or whatever, or however you were explaining it. So if he has houses, I would think, okay, one house is going to generate, a certain amount of revenue. Does he ever split them up in like 4 or 5 different rooms to maximize that RevPAR or whatever it's called?
I know many people that's doing that. Not specifically, these are just like entire place, units. But I know that you can maximize things. It just changes a little bit operational wise when you do that. But I don't know how recommended is that, because I do not have experience like subdividing a property. It might be very optimal in terms of like incrementing your revenue, of course, but also it might bring some other problems as well, like having different people in the same place. It's just like operational wise, probably a little bit more of a pain. And also like it can bring more, like, when you're subdividing, you have to like sub rent for less money. And I'm all into like the Facebook groups as well, like just always reading the news about the industry in different places in the US. And I know that when you're going cheap sometimes, and this has happened to me as well with my business, you get really bad guests sometimes. So it I don't know, it depends on how the business model you want to run. Sometimes aiming towards the most revenue is not the best if you really want to have a healthy business, I guess.
Seems like you have to have that middle ground. When you go too high, you get the people that are just pests. And then if you go too low, you get the bottom of the barrel. So you kind of have to have that middle ground. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And also, I've found like some things are very interesting because proportionally, occupancy and revenue are inverse. So if you're going higher on your price, you're gonna have less occupancy, but you're gonna have higher quality of guests, and that's really gonna like even things sometimes, because at some point, if you're doing very well your calculations, you might have some vacancy at the end of the month, but maybe your revenue is gonna be intact with less headaches. So it really depends on how you really want to run your business, but that's kind of like risky. You really got to know your area. Demand's got to be quite high in order to be able to do that. But if you really run the numbers, some analytics, and have some backup information. Let's say you run some good research on AirDNA and you really watch close your competition, and even on just looking at your area Airbnb, you might be able to do so.
So, and I have a two-part question to this, because you brought up something really very important that a lot of people don't look at, is revenue versus your occupancy rate. Do you find it better to, hey, have a lower occupancy rate and more revenue, or take a little bit of the dip on the revenue and just have a high occupancy rate?
Well, it depends. There's no thing such as like the best answer for that as a whole, because before pandemic was hitting, I was running into my business not 100% occupancy, but very high rates at night. So it wasn't a problem. But then after pandemic, demand is pretty low outside the US. I know that US internal, like local demand is really high. So actually short-term rental business is not that hit, as people were really like, they were really afraid of this, right? But then it turns out that it's not that bad actually. Like nights are being sold, hotels are a problem, but not for short-term rentals. It's not that hit as people was actually thinking. And markets such as like Mexico or the US are really killing it, while others such as, let's say, Europe or Chile, where I have the units, are really having a bad time. So what I had to do is I had to lower my ADR, it's the average daily rate, in order to have full occupancy. Now I'm getting 100% occupancy at very low rates, but then I'm selling high volume, and that's the only way to actually survive the first months of the pandemic. Now it's getting better, but you have to play with it and see what's your surrounding, what's your local demand, what's your real demand in the area, some projections here and there, but it depends on the situation you're at.
See, that's what I love, man. Because I mean, you actually do the research and do all the math to it. Whereas sometimes you'll hear people bragging on you know, on the social medias and stuff, saying, "Man, I got 100% occupancy." I always cringe at that. I'm like, man, your prices are probably too damn low. If you probably raise or double the prices, even if you had, you know, 3/4 full that month, you'd still make more money. You know, and it's just people don't look at it like that.
That's super true. That happened to one of the first clients I had in the project I'm running right now, where I'm running all the KPIs and performance for them, and letting them know where there's like space for growing. So there was this guy that's in Florida, and first months I'm seeing his insights. He started just this year, and he's like 100 occupancy pretty much, but also his price is getting higher. And I'm like, the first thing I look at this is, I'm like, you are just letting some money go away. Like you can't be just like revamping up on both like revenue and occupancy. Those are inverse, you know, like are inverse indicators. If one is going up, the other is going down. Otherwise, you're doing something wrong. And well, he just like hired the price, and of course, voila, right, more revenue. It was just telling them just by the numbers. It's very obvious at that point.
Now, okay, let's say we're talking about Chile before the pandemic, right? What would you say was a good occupancy rate to where you're getting the maximized revenue? Because I think that's a very one that a lot of people don't touch on, because I'm 100% with Steve. If you're at 100%, you got to be leaving some money on the table.
Yeah, and I'm willing to do so, because at this point right now, I'd rather have like full occupancy and leave like some money on the table than being worried on like missing some nights, because at this point the rates are so low that I have no space in order to like bring some things back. Of course, I'm covering the cost and having some profit, but if I want to get to good profit levels, I got to do some sacrifices. And from the risk management point of view, like you gotta run some risk on the lower or the higher end. So that's what I am towards that direction. But yeah, even though I can be having some money on the table, it's not worth the risk to figure out the exact optimal number, because the margin is so little at this point, given all the research I've done and the data I have gathered all these years, that it's just not worth it to me to have like 100 more bucks in the pocket at the end of the month, for risking maybe not even having them, for being, like having such high ego. I can make it happen. Like sometimes less is more.
Yeah. So like before the pandemic though, like where would you say was a very profitable occupancy rate before the pandemic?
Oof. Well, normally average percent for just like the whole industry in Chile will vary kind of low. It will be just 60-65%. But it was a very interesting market because it was showing 50-60% growth in the whole industry year on a year. It was building up super fast in the country. So once again, it depends on the location you are. Well, I was in the capital city, Santiago, and there you might see some occupancy levels on average will be varying between 70 and 80%. And I was hitting 85 plus with high ADR, but also my unit was located in one of the best locations you can have. So I if I wanted, I could have gone all the way to 100% every month. I was just playing with the rates to get the most out of it and less headaches at the point.
So you do this, like you said, you have a client in Florida, and you were helping him, figure out the optimal occupancy rate to make the most profit. So you do this for other people.
Yeah, it's all about the new project, right? I'm running analytics right now, and I'm giving them the profit and loss statements. So it's now getting started as a big project. As I mentioned, it started all back in Chile when I was just like starting with this company, and it came to my mind it will be good to run the engineering numbers there and starting to optimizing some stuff, and it did. And then I started to see if there was a space to my own stuff, so I started to dig deeper, and it became a thing, and always optimizing until nowadays. But now it got like super well optimized at this point because of iteration. You get more experience as well. And now I decided that it might be a better option, instead of just like expanding all the way to back home, to make this for people, because this is high demand in the industry. And I've seen people trying to run business, and you have all the professions here. It's amazing the variety of people that's going into short-term rentals, and many of them have no idea what they're doing. So just give them a couple numbers. It's just good to have, a dashboard with your profit and loss statements. See where your performance is going. If it's going up, if it's going down, have some insights. It's good. And by someone that has, experience on the field, is a host himself as well. But not only that, he's a numbers guy. It's the case of me, right? So I'm selling that as a service to people on a B2B model, because I think it's just quite interesting in order for people to actually get it right and be profitable.
I'm actually currently going through a business restructure where I'm actually implementing the profit first system. What system, or like how does your own system work to where you're able to dissect a business and analyze and say, hey, this is where you need to cut some fat, or hey, you need to get more units? What are you using? I'm very interested to know that.
Well, I value a lot the data. So normally when you're doing a new project and you really want to jump into like a new unit, you will look into data. You will go somewhere into like RDNA. You will watch out like the neighborhood you're into. You want to check out the occupancy. You want to check out the ADR. You want to check out what's going to be the cost for setting up, and having all the fixed cost that it actually means to do whatever you're doing, if it's arbitrage or whatever. And then run the numbers to see if that's profitable, then start with the business. I'm starting from a very specific point. I'm starting when people are already running business. Mm-hmm. So in order to help them to enhance their performance. So what I'm doing there is I'm starting from their own data. So well, I am I just love computers and geek stuff. And even though it's not part of the career, I love databases, and I'm coding SQL in databases, and I'm always looking forward the way of optimizing the way you structure data and the best ways of doing analytics on that, because I started my career as a data analyst, and now I'm going deeper, and I'm actually now looking forward to study data science as a data scientist here in Germany, because I just think it's just super interesting. So going one step forward into that, but now where I am, I'm always looking at information as it should be. And for me, it's all about like having well-structured information in order to have good insights. So I'm looking at all the bookings information of the people and the cost information they have. Also, of course, I'm looking into some insights of the market for, of course, giving them recommendations. But the starting point for them is like, how are you actually doing with what you have? What can you do better with what you have? So most of this project is looking into clients' data and see what they're doing and if they're doing it right or if they're doing it wrong.
So is this fair for me to say that you're kind of like a living, breathing mix of price labs and air DNA for somebody?
And dig deeper, because I'm going into getting your costs. What are your variable costs? What are your fixed costs? And then I'm mixing that with your pricing, and with your revenue, and what's your time ahead of booking, right? Like how can you perform better in there are just like so many indicators in the industry,
Okay.
But mixing all of that and then just getting a conclusion is kind of like a very deep analysis that's worth it.
So you're like, yeah, like a short-term rental Frankenstein for these people.
Kind of, but it works.
And so I mean, I just jumped to it because okay, people start getting all these tools and stuff. They pay for AirDNA, which is expensive. They pay for price labs. They pay for the accounting software. They pay for the to do their expenses. They pay for the PMS systems. So if they just used you, would they actually be saving money, or how would this work? How does that happen? The pricing using someone like you?
Okay, this is the marketing part, right? But
yeah, I just want to know.
As beautiful as it sounds, I'm trying to make this tool actually kind of like a positive cash flow for them. Like if you get the unit, hopefully it gets better for you. So actually you're making more money and it's paying off by itself pretty much. So it shouldn't damage your business on the long term, actually just help. So same business model as Beyond Pricing is doing. So people started using Beyond Pricing and they're willing to give up that 1% because it's actually really helping them to get more revenue. So people are willing to pay off that 1% because it's really helping you more than 1%. So it's pretty much paying off by itself.
Because I think you touched on something really important. And actually, Steve alluded to it. People pay for all these subscriptions. Do you help people to analyze like, hey, this subscription isn't worth it. Maybe you should get rid of it. Because like this week, me and Federico we're actually getting rid of Smart BnB because we realized it's an unnecessary cost. Is that something you do with your business?
Of course. I mean, I have meetings with my clients, it's not about just like numbers. We have meetings, we have a monthly report. We're looking at insights, and they have a whole data studio dashboard where they can see their performance with not only numbers, but now it's getting into more graphical interface. And well, I actually got the domain, and I talked with my developer. We are looking towards like seed capital in order to make this run on web software that we're going to be connecting through APIs directly to gather your information from Airbnb. So it's not a hassle for you to give it to me on a CSV file. So it's going to be a full automated process. Hopefully by the end of the year, it's going to be running like that.
Do you guys have any tools you guys think you'll connect with, like QuickBooks or something like that?
No, not at all, and not right now. There are some things that I think that they are necessary. I don't want to go out of the niche of having your like performance indicators, profit and loss statements, because that's exactly what I want to tackle, and I don't want to get out of that. QuickBooks is more for accountability, and like if you want to do full cash flows, but not only profit and loss statements that you want to run. If you had some loans in order to like run into the business and you want to see your initial setup cost and everything, that will be kind of like a complete cash flow of the business by its name. What I'm doing is running your performance on a monthly basis. And if you're actually doing well and if you're actually having positive numbers there or not, because that's what really matters. If you're having positive numbers there, you're going to be able to pay your loan and your initial setup. So cash flow is going to be positive anyways if your profit and loss statement is running positive, right? That's for all the industries and all companies.
That's great. So looking at this as someone on the outside, hearing all this, it gets confusing a little bit, and we're talking some technical stuff, but like someone's saying, man, I can run my own Airbnb. I don't need all this stuff. So people like that. Well, what are some of the things that like just the regular everyday person is, what are some of the biggest cash flow mistakes are they doing? What, money mistakes are they doing? And what are some of the biggest things that they don't account for that's just destroying their profits?
Well, yeah, I've seen several things. Even like at the first company I started working at, even like I've seen different kind of practices that I'm like, okay, let's just correct this right now. The one that's super common, and I know that this is gonna touch into many people because it's just like super common to see in the US, is that, well, your cleaners are getting paid by the hour, but you're gathering a fixed cleaning fee. People are not doing any calculations on that, and they're not, they really have no idea what to charge on a cleaning fee, and they're just like doing some estimations, and many of those estimations are really bad, because if you discovered someone threw a party on your unit, even though you're not allowed whatever, that's going to cost you more hours, and people have underestimated the hours. So the cleaning is not paying by itself. That's the most common thing you see, and you're like, cleaning should be paying by itself. So if you're charging whatever fee of cleaning per reservation, let's say you're having 5 reservations a month, right? And you're charging $100 fee, you will be able to gather $500. But maybe you're spending more than that, because you are underestimating the hours of your cleaning. And I've seen that. I've seen getting $500 as cleaning, and people are not even looking at the number. They're just like easy peasy at their home. They're like, that's fine, I'm getting 500 on cleaning. How much are you spending? You're spending 600. You're losing 100 there. I know it's not that much, but it adds up. At the end of the year, you're losing more than $1,000. And that's how you have to take a look at that. And those small tweaks, as you're saying, like Smart BnB might not be worth for some people, where it might be worth for some other. So it will just add up. There are people that are just like freaking out, filling their homes with like cameras or super high tech. Their profit is just negative numbers, because they're just like adding so much stuff that it's just not sustainable anymore.
Man, you touched on a lot right there. That is so true. Now you touched on cleaning fees, because I've heard people say they're paying too much in cleaning. And Sean Rakitic from Airbnb Automated, he actually just dropped a dope video on the 3 methods to pay cleaners. So I want to know from you, what is the best method to pay cleaners? Is it by the job, per hour, or how would you calculate, like, hey, this is how you should pay your cleaner and be profitable?
It's quite super simple actually. The best practice that's always gonna result to you, like many people would say like, oh, normally in this place you will just like charge this or do that. I figured out that cleaning fee is something that guests are really willing to pay. They really want to get into a clean place, and they are really willing to pay that cleaning fee. I've seen cleaning fees of $150, and people are really paying for that. It depends on the unit, of course. You're not charging that on like studio that's super small on low demand city, right? But that same studio is not going to charge that much. It's not going to cost that much in terms of like hours to be clean. So it's proportional to the size. So people are willing to pay the cleaning fee. That's the bottom line. And that said, you can even run a personal test and gather data for 1 or 2 months, because gathering your data is like very a key aspect of doing this well. Like you can run a test, do the same estimate that people are doing, but just like really get into it and turn your head into it, run some numbers and see like, okay, how much is it really cost me to start this? If you know it well, you will know better estimates. For me, when I was setting up my units, I knew how much it costed to get them clean with my partner. It was my partner's wife there, just like cleaning everything as well. That's how many people are starting. There, most of them, sorry, not most of them, but there's like a not minor amount of like couples that are running this as a side business for their, you know, like income, and cleaning is running on themselves sometimes, or where they're starting, so they know how many hours it will take more or less. But you can have good estimates depending on the size of your unit. So you run this estimate and you charge a proper cleaning fee that you might think it will cover, and then you add, of course, an error. Like you always do that. Well, maybe I'm just a geek into numbers, but that's just common sense for everybody, I will say, right? You run the error always. Let's say 10% more than that, and you see if that covers. If that doesn't cover, you're just like going up until you get to the point that you're actually sustainable. And you have to have that error space. You cannot only be charging and have that 500 cover the 500. You have to have 700 cover the 500. Actually, you got to get some profit out of the cleaning.
Man, I need to up my cleaning fees and lower my cleaning rate. I like that though, because that's one thing I was kind of struggling with. Like when I was like, okay, let's cut some meat, cut some fat here. Is do you up your cleaning fees, and then how do I make this profitable? Which I'm profitable a little bit, but how do you make it so you can make a profit by paying the cleaner maybe per hour? And man, this is some golden stuff you're dropping over here. So
yeah, and that's a one-time fee, like it's not gonna, like one thing is your average daily rate, and when I'm calculating these things, I'm not mixing them up. One thing is your full revenue. So when you're having your payout on your Airbnb, you're getting paid by the cleaning fee, pet fee, whatever extra fee you have on top of the revenue for nights, right? Discounted your host fees, right? So I'm separating all of that stuff because it's super good to have them separated. One thing is the full income, and you have to have separated and calculated by the booking how much you're receiving for that booking, specifically for cleaning fee. If you have an extra guest fee, which I have for my units, maybe you are accepting pets, but you have that extra fee. So you separate all the incomes, and then only then you're able to see if you're actually covering the cost of having that whatever fee, if that's costing you more or not. And that's super important as well.
That's a big one right there, is the pet fee. A lot of people are allowing pets because, oh shit, I'm gonna get $50 extra this booking, if I allow her to bring their dog. Now, I'm sure you've analyzed all the numbers on, is it worth it to allow pets just to get that $50? Is it not worth it? I mean, what are your thoughts on allowing pets and pet fees?
Um, well, personally, I'm a dog lover. Like, I'm nobody without my little one, Like everybody's a dog lover nowadays. But set aside that, I'm not allowing pets on my place because this is like, friendships and family and business. You don't mix up stuff. Like for me, business is business, and
Mm.
like personal life is another different stuff. Even though I love dogs, I don't allow them in my units because you don't know. Personally, I don't know who these animals are, and they will depend on the education of their owner. So if they're bringing a dog that's really like screwing my furniture, and that can cost you more than the pet fee itself. Like if they break some of your furniture and you don't get the logistics there at time, you might be having some vacancy, and that will really cost you. And chances are that you are not seeing that money back. So I'm just like, I'm not allowing that. And actually, a few months ago, no, it was like 1 or 2 months ago, I discovered that one of my guests, they just like dig in a little puppy there, and I charge him a high fee through Airbnb support because it's just forbidden. It's not in my house rules, and I got some money out of that. I think it's fair because I'm not allowing it, and it's public before you're doing the booking, and this is a business, so I run it like that.
So I guess in other words, there must be something to it, the fact that for hundreds of years, 99% of hotels didn't allow pets, right?
Of course, that's because of something, like it's just not worth the risk.
I have a question for you on that. With you not allowing pets, let's say something breaks. Like let's just say someone can get insurance and covers the pets or whatever. Do you feel like if you don't allow pets, you remove a value add that you could, potentially make money on?
Yeah, of course, it's a trade-off, right? Always. It's always a trade-off. You are gonna be losing some space on your occupancy because there's part of this market that's gonna demand that, and there's gotta be someone there to supply that. And there you have the people that will be able to supply that and have the pet fee. I know some people that they are charging really high pet fees, and as they have like front cameras on their front door, that they're not like looking inside the unit, but it's just to like pretty much put things in a safe context, whether they are saying like how many guests are actually getting into the house, if they're bringing pets or not, if they're running parties, for safety. And I think that's fair enough because if you're not really having any that's hidden and it's outside the place and it's for safety, and actually that can really save you on a trial if things get really bad. Um, and if you have really um, a really high fees, I think that might be a yes, but only if that's a high demand. So if you're in an area where you're having like families coming over and your unit is allowing like this family niche of the demand, yes, that might be worth it, but only then, right? And you can make sure that people are just not like screwing you because most of the guests, let's be honest, like they want to avoid paying that fee. So if you don't have that camera, if you're not there, just gonna sneak in a little fluffy one and you won't notice, and they might just like blame the child that something got broken. I don't know.
Hmm. Okay, that's understood. I was wondering because we just started allowing pets a few months back, and it's been profitable. But we have them take pictures of it and send it to us before they, allow them in. And we've actually shout out to our guy Mike Brown. He actually showed me these cool kennels that are actually like decorative kennels that you could buy, and so they have a pet kennel when they get there. So yeah, I was just wondering if it's worth the trade off. But yeah.
Now is okay. Let's do some practical tips to people, our listeners out there. What are some of the costs? Like, let's just say, for example, they leave out, snacks, they leave out waters, they leave out a bottle of wine, they leave out, chocolates or something like that, or whatever, the fancy toilet paper. What are some of the costs that really don't bring back, that as much revenue as they think they would? Where could they cut and save money, and it really wouldn't affect nothing?
Okay, that's super good question. In my, like in my experience, that's the only thing I can tell you, being super humble. But I realized that when I started this whole journey on my own short-term rentals, I was quite fancy receiving the guests. They were having, like being in Chile, you cannot go there and not have a Chilean wine, right? We got one of the best wines of the world. So like you were coming as a foreigner and having a bottle of wine as a present will be like, oh man, welcome to the country, right? And that gave us a lot of nice reviews. But now we're looking into local demand, and it's like now here being in Germany, like you can just get very cheap and nice beer. So people like local demand, they won't care if I am actually bringing them a bottle of wine or not. They're just like digging into the ADR. So now I took that out and I haven't seen any impact on that. That was an added value when I was having most of my traffic being foreigners. Now it's not an added value anymore, so I took it out. So cost will vary and might not bring you so many good things. At that point, I was charging a way higher ADR, so it was worth it, because 5-star reviews, when someone's gifting you a wine, if my cleaning lady just forgot something very small detail, they will just give me on the private review like, oh, that was for forgetting or something. There's always space for errors when you're running this business, and it happens even in best hotels. But they were just like leaving that out in the comments very privately, because when you're receiving them with like wine and stuff, it was super nice, and they were trying to be nice back to you. So it was paying back at that point. But at this point now, like a local wouldn't care if I bring them a wine or anything. It's not adding value anymore, and it's just a cost that I'm not willing to run anymore. So I just took it out until the foreigners are coming back, and now they are coming back with the wines as well. So it will vary and depend. You have to adapt to it, I guess.
Ooh, that man. That was a good question, Steve. And yeah, I'm happy you brought that. That's a really good answer. Like you said, notice, hey, the locals don't care about the wine, but foreigners do. Okay. Now I have another question, because you said you get good reviews for bringing the wine. How much does a good review really cost?
Well, it costed the wine at least. It was totally worth it. Like I had the best reviews. Like people were calling me back at that point and were saying like, oh my gosh, like, is this wine for us? Thank you so much. This is one of the best Airbnbs ever, and blah, blah, blah. That was like super good. Most of the traffic was from Brazil, and Brazils were just like crazy about Chilean wines. So it was just like a super good pack, of course. And you can get the most out of your country wherever you have, like if you're whatever in Switzerland, you can just do a small detail of a chocolate, whatever, just have to add the value wherever you have it there. But it will just depend, I guess. But yeah, it was worth the wine, because with those 5-star reviews, I got the super host really fast, and then I got to stay with a very high average daily rate. So it was paying off.
Now, speaking of superhost, what's the difference in profits between someone who's not a superhost and someone who is?
I had to deal with that personally, because I was taking off superhost like a couple months ago, and that was because I was left some really 2 or 3 bad reviews, the only ones I had. Like some guests, okay, let's just make it clear, like some of them are just assholes, like
Yeah. Karens, yeah.
Right? Like, do you guys agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
of course.
Before you finish that thought, a guest, we had like this crazy rainstorm going off. Parts of Dallas lost power. He wanted a free night because he lost power at his unit. He wanted a free night because of an act of God.
No, where did this guest come from, Steve?
Where did he come from? Like, what do you mean?
Like
Where did he
what booking platform? Where OTA or
It's, Airbnb.
I should
Yeah.
have known. But I'm gonna let you go ahead. Go ahead, Bruno.
He's staying for 2 weeks, but he said, my wife can't work at home because the power's out and I can't walk my dog because it's raining. What the hell? I didn't. And so I'm like, you want a free day because something that God did? Yeah, I'll give you God's number. How about you clear it up with him? Anyway, sorry, Bruno. I had to vent a little, man. Speaking of
No,
a-hole
that's okay.
guests.
But yeah, one of these, right?
Yeah.
They call them the same here in Germany. The German word is Ashlock.
Ashlock.
You can tell from the word. Anyways, these are everywhere. It wasn't the exception back in Chile, and typical South American culture, super cheap. They want to get the most out of the buck. Well, I get that. That happens everywhere, but especially there, it's kind of like a culture, Negotiating is saying different. Well, so whatever is not there, it will be a bad thing. So one of these girls, it was a girl. That's why I'm saying girl. It's not being any specific, but it was, it's just telling the facts.
Karen.
So this girl, she gave us a really bad review. It was kind of like a 1-star thing, super bad, because we watched the futon on a professional service, and it wasn't totally dry yet. And we told her that time ahead. And we asked her, "Are you okay with this, or we should be available the next day?" So we blocked that day, and then you're coming the next day. She's like, "No, that's fine, no problem." She gets there 2 hours later. She's like, "The futon is still not dry." I'm like, "I told you, it's not gonna be dry. We already addressed this. Like, what do you want me to do?" No, I just think it's like. I thought it was gonna take like half an hour or something, but it's been 2-3 hours, and I want to like see it and use it, and and we're like, it's a trade-off. You agreed to this, and it's gonna be fine by just like a couple hours, and then tomorrow. But then I offered you as well to not get this night, and you agreed to that. So what do you want me to do now? She's like, "You're getting a bad review," and they threat you, and they do it.
Did she threaten you on the platform? Because I hear you can get them removed if they do.
She was on the phone. She was on the phone. That's really bad, because if you haven't read it, actually, that's the only way to have a bad review removed from the platform. One of the policies is that if you have an open thread that's written, you can screenshot or something and send it to the support. And this is for all the hosts out there that are listening. You can get that bad review removed if you have a guest threatening you on having you on a bad review, whatever the fact is. If it's a threat, you can have it removed. So it was on the phone. I couldn't have it removed, and it was really bad. And I'm not going to dig deeper into any story, but this was one case, and I had 3 or 4 of these cases, very specific. It was just like 0.1 points down when the assessment of the superhost was going on, and I'm like, what is the only indicator was the overall review rate, which is insane. It's like 4.85%, something like that. Is super high. And I was like 0.1 below and out of superhost. And yes, I was seeing less occupancy. Now I'm getting it back. It was just like this 3-month period, and now I'm good to get it back right now because we're doing a good job there. But being in this like place with this like low demand and having these kind of reviews with bad guests because you're lowering your ADR is just super hard. I guess the guests have no idea of how hard for us hosts is to really run this business. And they have to kind of like acknowledge that they get what they pay, and when they agree, don't be assholes. It's just super hard to get everything going on well, and people are just people everywhere. But yeah, it hits you when you're not super host anymore. It really hits you, and people have no idea about that. Only on your pocket, and you have to just like lower ADR, and it hits you.
I'm gonna have to run some financials on that one. That's a good one. I always wondered, is it more profitable being a super host? But one thing I want to ask you something, because you said the guest threatened you on the phone. And what I'm about to say, a lot of people don't agree with, but it's worked well for me. I don't answer guest phone calls. I don't have people doing that. Like, don't answer their phone calls. Only talk to through the platform. Do you think that's a good or bad thing for reviews? And do guests feel like, maybe they're being left out in the cold? I don't have many guest phone calls either. So how about, and I'll let Steve answer that too, Bruno, and I'll let both of you answer that. How do you guys feel about that?
You go first, Bruno.
Okay, short answer because I'm interested in Steve answer, but well, I'm a geek of the numbers, of course, always looking for the best number. I'm always digging into reviews, and they are separated by a category, and I'm always taking a look at communication, because reviews, you can build them up with different stuff. One of them is communication. So sometimes I really make sure that my guests are like very comfortable. For example, when I'm having Brazilian traffic, I speak Portuguese, so I call them personally in their native language to welcome them and give them the instructions. That always gives me back a 5 stars communication review. So I will say that it's really worth the risk pretty much, because the really headaches that I have had is just like very punctual, but it's worth it to really have that communication rates up to talk to them on a friendly manner, because most of the guests really appreciate it. Some of them they really have no idea even to like message through the app.
Let you go, Steve.
Man, I answer the calls, man. I answer the calls, and I'm just used to that. If I know a guest is struggling with something, I'll answer the phone calls, and it's interesting because when I was out of Airbnb for a while, I remember, because they shut my houses down because of the bans, and then I got back into it. But when I got back into it, it had local is running. I still have those 2 units with local, and so I had a management company, and they answered the phone calls if they needed to talk to them and stuff, and but every now and then that a phone call would make it my way, and I try to help them as much as I could, and it was just to be helpful. And I think I can talk to people okay. I don't know. I've never been threatened over the phone. That's not, I don't know how I would handle getting threatened over the phone. I might get a little gangsta on them. But I'll answer especially I look at the phone call, it says it's from Ohio, and I'm like, oh, I guess they're from Ohio. It's probably them, And it's usually just something trying to get in the unit, or can I park here or something. It's simple stuff. I've never had one call me and bitch me out and say they're going to leave me a bad review. So I know different philosophies. I like how that both work, You get everything down in writing, stuff like that. Have you ever got complained on that they don't answer the phone?
No, our communication is pretty high.
Okay. Well,
but like I do now, okay. I do like I send in a couple automated messages. Hey, if you need to reach us through whatever booking platform you book through. And usually they'll just go through the app. But I kind of indicate it twice, like right at the confirmation of their reservation, and then again on the morning of check-in. So it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of got to hint at it and keep hinting at it, and then they'll, But it's interesting because I like the way you look at it too. Like, okay, if I answer the phone call, and it builds that personal relationship with them as well.
Yeah, and I heard a cool quote from Eric Moeller, on an email he sent, saying, "Would you, Emo, would you give a bad review to a friend?" And I know what he was going with that, and I didn't open the email. Oh shit!
My bad. Go ahead.
Hit the microphone. I know where he was going with that. He's like, when you like answer a phone call, talk to him, be nice to him, handle whatever issue quickly and befriend them in a way. It goes, oh, would you leave a bad review to a friend? And I know for a fact that people out there that do that, befriend them, they still get bad reviews sometimes. There's just some assholes that don't care, and they're still bent on leaving you a bad review. They expect you to wait on them hand and feet and all this stuff. Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on something on that. The easiest 5-star reviews I ever got?
What's that?
The ones where I was house hacking.
Oh yeah, you're their buddy. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
those are
at the
the easiest ones. So yeah, that's sorry to get off topic, Bruno, but yeah, those are the easiest 5 stars I ever got.
house. One thing
That was fun.
yeah. One thing I really want to ask you, Bruno. All right, you mentioned that 1-star review that knocked you off a superhost status, and I've been there before too. Like yeah. We don't want to like to talk about that too much. We do. We've talked about it on the show, but when I know there's it's the science to it and the crunching the numbers, but can you give us like an estimate when you have how many reviews, like good reviews, do you have, plus that one or those 2 killers that knocks you out of superhost, and then when is it worth it to just scrap that Airbnb altogether and start a new one, a fresh new one with no reviews, and what's the profit differential?
Well, it really depends. It really depends on how you're doing stuff, because there are some breaking points. Like if you're going below, let's say 4, like you will need to worry, because you're running on an algorithm that's showing you on. It's all about search engines pretty much, because Airbnb, it's a search engine as a business as well. And you are competing with other business to be on the first page. That's simple as that, right? And you want to be there. So first thing, when you hit the market and you're there, they give you they give you a boost as a new unit. So you are a little bit more equal, and you're not starting from zero. So they're showing your property a lot, and you're actually in those results. And then you have to, from there, starting building up your reputation. So if you're getting your first reviews, 5 stars and so on, as it happened with my units, I was always in incognito VPN, like super geek, checking out where are my units. They were all in first page, and I'm like, okay, that's super cool. And it started changing depending on the numbers. And it's really fast. Like, you will be amazed. You can be 4 point. I was 5 at some point, and then I dropped to like 4.98, and like one of my units started being on first page. It wasn't like second or third, and it really hit like the views I had. You can run on. There are some like really bad performance units, performance numbers on Airbnb on the performance tab, but one that I really appreciate is views, because you can see how much like attention you're getting, or that unit, or as an overall. And that dropped drastically with just a very tiny drop on the score. I'm talking about like decimals here at this point. And then I realized how much of a search engine is. So this is not going to vary in like anywhere. And the more volume you have, the more competitive the market it is. So US being one of the biggest, if not the biggest, it will be crazy. So me in Chile dropping like that by just 2 decimal points, that will be insane in the US, right? You can be easily like 10 pages off. So a specific number, it will depend on the market as well, and the volume of the market. But going before 4, that's not something good. You're not getting noticed. So if you can take that back up, that's fine. But if it's just going down, maybe it might be a good idea to start fresh.
All right. One of the last questions I wanted to ask for the day, to settle the argument once and for all. What is a more profitable Airbnb, a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom?
That's a debate.
What's that?
I ain't never heard of that debate. Go ahead.
That's quite interesting question. Also, as all these questions, like, sorry to put it down like this, but always the answer is like, it depends. Like, and that's whenever you you're asking a guy that's running on numbers, they will tell you that. Like, it's the hate answer. You know, everybody hates that answer. It depends, because it doesn't give you like the one ring fits them all. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not like that. When you're coming to business, you have to really do some analytics and accommodate to what's really working. But I saw that when we started with this division of the short-term rentals in this company, we were doing one bedroom units, and that was calling the attention of executives, businessmen. These were specifically aimed towards that specific demand, because they were in the financial district, one bedrooms, super nice, modern, and yeah, they were killing it. But how much can you charge for a one bedroom, really? Whatever you are, not that much. The two bedrooms were killing it, and even three at some were actually killing it in revenue, but on high demand months. So the sweet spot was two bedrooms, always. You will have to study that on the market, of course, because you're in Orlando, Florida, where when pandemic is not there and all the families are just traveling there, probably you will have plenty of demand for three bedrooms and you will just do it better there. But if you are in like New York or Houston, Texas, or financial center of LA, maybe like a very well located one bedroom will kill it as well. But still, two is gonna be sweet spot for most of the market. Do you guys agree?
Well, you go first, Myka.
Oh, 2 bedrooms all day. That's
All
the biggest,
day.
yeah, that's the biggest price jump you'll ever notice is from 1 to 2. And you can also sometimes, if you set up a 2 bedroom in a heads and bed situation, you can charge for what you can a 3. But if you charge a 3 for a heads and bed situation as well, you can charge a little bit more because you're now going to be more than less targeting families. But yeah, I think the 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom model is the biggest jump in revenue you'll see. 2 and 3 bedroom, not so much, but you will be more profitable on a 3 bedroom. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Can I interrupt before you answer, Steve? I want to dig into something very important here. I track my average amount of guests that I have per month. It turns out to be somewhere between 2 and 3, and that really covers the 2 bedrooms need. And those are the units I have are like 2 bedrooms because of that specifically, because I tracked this down from the company I was working for before. And I realized that because I got that number. And actually, if you get into AirDNA or whatever other platform, you will realize that most of the market is the demand of this market is mostly for 2 bedrooms. So mostly everywhere, that should be the answer.
I like it. Yeah. I'll answer it by saying something that just happened to us. Argus Rentals, me and Federico's company, we just onboarded a unit in Houston. We're gonna manage it for somebody in Houston, a client in Houston, and so we just put it on there today. And automatically for this month, they got a 5-day booking. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and over 1,000 square foot. And they just got a booking for 5 days, a family coming through town to Houston for $1,748.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I looked at Federico, what the hell are we doing with 1 bedrooms, man? 2 bedrooms, target them to families all day, and you're going to get that money, man. I was like, God, dog. So that answers my question. Today, I was just, okay, we ain't messing around with 1 bedrooms no more.
Yeah,
Really...
And this is my thing on 1 bedrooms. I think the niche in 1 bedrooms is to target insurance clients. That's where it is. If you want to do 1 bedrooms, like the way to maximize is to target insurance clients. That's about it. 2 bedrooms all day, 2 bedrooms and up. Like even like the houses that I buy, they're usually 3 bedrooms. I go the 3-bedroom model. And I've passed up 2-bedroom houses because I don't think it's worth my time to fix up a 2-bedroom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it has to do with occupancy as well, because as major of the demand is going to be for 2 bedrooms, you are ensuring yourself more occupancy. Therefore, you can be more flexible with your average daily rate, which is what I'm doing right now on pandemic now, because I've seen many short-term rentals go away because they don't run numbers and they are not making sure that they can actually be flexible with this, or they even don't know how to do it. So it's very important to be on the high demand part in order to be more empowered of your business.
Mm. Mm. And you get on that front page because most people are 1 bedrooms out there, right?
Yeah, but it's more competitive as well.
Nice. Oh man, this has been a good show. I'm glad you hopped on, Bruno. You've been dropping some knowledge on us. So I just ask, where can people get a hold of you to just, you can go over. I don't know how exactly how your business works, but or if you want to tell what your costs or your fees are or whatever, if you want to. If not, or you just want people to reach out to you, yeah, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, just to say something about it, I'm not a marketing man, but my marketing, I think, and I do believe that in those business where people are like, well, this is actually working, you should give it a try. So I'm running a trial of free 10 days. So like you see how it works. It can extend depending on the amount of your units, so if you're a very interesting client, it can run a little bit more than that, but normally you just get the free trial to see all the insights you will see, how you will be able to like handle this information without a hassle. You'll have someone doing the calculations for you, and a full interview to see how I'm going to be dealing with this like profit and loss statements. You have customized KPIs if you want so, and a full breakdown of your cost and performance dashboards with graphics and stuff. Very fancy and modern. So that's pretty much the business about. Hopefully I wanted to run like that. As I said, like if you like it, for example, you can just like tell people actually this is working, or maybe I've been trying the business of this guy we talked like some episodes ago and actually it's like helping me. That's why I wanted to go like, and people can find me. I'll leave you the links, I guess. Maybe you can put it on the description below on YouTube, or maybe on like I don't know, somewhere else on the podcast, so they can reach me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not having that speech specific for the marketing. I just wanna show how it's like, and most of the things that we have talked today are based in numbers, and that's how I want people to run the business, and that's the most secure way to be actually profitable. To if you're like running based on numbers, like if you have data driven decisions, probably you're gonna do better, and that's what I'm aiming for towards to.
Okay, so let's just say someone listening on their headphones, they're at their computer right now. Hey, tell us where to go, Bruno. Where the hell do we go? What website, or where do they go?
Well, actually, I got the domain, but it's not up as I'm saying. I'm just receiving people on my Facebook page right now.
Okay.
Would they be okay to reach you on your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it's just under Bruna Villaseca, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I just connected with you. That's all I was asking.
Oh, yeah, perfect. And then the Facebook page is called Toto. It's TOTO, then space STR as short-term rentals, and then space software. So it's Toto STR software, and they can just like drop me a message there, and then from then and on, I will just take care to onboard whoever that's interested in getting this trial in order to see if they find it interesting or worth it their time or not.
Cool. Toto STR software. I dig it.
Yeah.
Thanks for hopping on, Bruno. It's been a great show. And we will put his links in the show notes and on the YouTube page. So any closing thoughts, Myka?
Oh no, man, Bruno, definitely thank you for coming on, man. You've been a wealth of knowledge. You definitely dropped a lot of good gems about increasing your revenue, getting bad reviews removed. So I think we'll have a lot of listeners learning a lot from this episode. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure myself, and hopefully in the future, if you're interested, as I'm developing a full software on the website, it might be interesting maybe to dig deeper about this one once it's all up and running, connected directly through the APIs on Airbnb and Booking.com. A more complex software that might be interesting to discuss about when time comes. So I'm just open to that if you guys are interested. And yeah, it was great having you. Being here with you guys. And thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, man.
thank you. All right, Bruno. We'll
All
catch
right.
you on the other side.
Peace.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Man, that was Bruna Villaseca. I think I said that right?
Yeah, Villaseca. Yeah. So
Yeah.
men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie.
They don't. It's crazy. We had him on. Like right now, I'm in the middle of going into profit first, putting that in my business, man. And it's been real interesting. Just actually taking a deep dive into what you actually pay for and what you don't need. So like all day today, I was talking to Federico a few times today, and we were just talking about like getting rid of Smart BnB. I'm like, I don't think it's worth it anymore. If you got your porter, it takes care of the messaging. Just trust that to do it. And we tested it and it works perfectly fine. So yeah, one thing I will tell people, when you're looking at your profits, make sure you're not double paying for stuff. That's what I will say. Yeah, because if you have
examples,
like I had your porter and I also had Smart BnB. Your porter will do all the messaging for me, and they have the direct booking side, everything I need. I didn't technically need Smart BnB, so we're trying to have Smart BnB gone by Sunday. And I've already done a huge chunk of it. So we're getting rid of that. I got rid of some subscriptions I didn't need, man. And by the way, if you guys have not read the book Profit First, that's a game changer. Game changer.
Got the buckets.
Yeah. Get the buckets. Yeah. Smaller plates, man. He said Americans start eating more when they start making the plates bigger. I was like, yeah. He was. He said, yeah, if you give it a smaller plate, you'll eat less. So I was like, okay. Yeah. So
yeah, I've heard him. He's hopped on like Bigger Pockets and some other podcasts I like to listen to.
He's powerful, man. He has some powerful business models.
Yeah, and it sounds cool. He said like a lot of people are afraid to take profits out of their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you got to get these victory, these wins, these rewards to you. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out from doing business, because you gotta look. You take out the profit first, boom, and you can see that profit growing. And it just keeps you motivated too. It's psychological too.
Yeah, man. You also got to realize that you got to get paid for what you do. You know what I mean? And it's very important. It's keeping you motivated. And then it also increases the profitability of the business. So then if you already took your profit out and you got to make what's left work and it ain't working, you got to increase sales, bro. You got to increase them KPIs. So it's a dope book, man.
I think one important thing he talked about is the tax bucket.
Yeah.
Because people get to the end of the year and say, I got to write a check for $50,000 in taxes, but if you have it in the tax bucket already, it's no sweat.
Facts, man. It's been like great reading that book, dude. Like that book, man, like me and my guy, we having whole masterminds on that book, like, and just like, hey, what's your caps? What's your taps? How do we increase it? Are you meeting your goal? So yeah, man, that caps and taps, like your current allocation projections and your target allocation projections, man, dude, it's some deep stuff. Jay Massey is a huge proponent of that book, and I see why. But yeah, what were you going through, Steve? Man, you got guests trying to cancel and get free shit.
Yeah, I alluded to that. Well, that's the problem, man. I mean, this guy, he came through with the big booking right away, right? Is one of them, the Green Dream, and he booked. It's a nice, it was over a $1,500 booking. It's pretty good for the Green Dream, right? For like, I don't know, 10 days, whatever it was, and so the first day he complained about he saw some ants. And so, okay, I sent some, I went to Amazon, sent them those little ant baits. I said, unscrew the thing, stick it wherever in the window where you saw the ants, and they'll be gone in a day. And so, okay, thank you. He complained about some other stuff. He started like nitpicking like left and right. And he was telling, and so the girl from, you know, my management team over there at local, she was, hey, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? I'm like, it was a big booking, you know, and I'm like, man, I said, you know, this guy's gonna be wearing us out, right? And she kind of like laughs it off. She's just a VA and, you know, wherever. And so I just didn't even think about it. And then the rainstorms came like the next time. And you know, we had that big storm that came through, right? Thunder, lightning, rain. And it knocked out power in a lot of parts of Dallas. You know, hundreds and hundreds of houses were out without power and apartment complexes. And so he's just going crazy because he's like, well, we're here in the dark with no power. And so she said, what do I tell him? I said, well, tell him that I talked to the Encore and the power's going to be out till 2:00. Okay, I told him. And then they sending me text updates. Okay, the power's going to be out till 10 o'clock. And he just lost it. Well, my wife's supposed to be working here. Can you give us a free day for our troubles? I was like, what? First, I was pissed he'd asked for a free day for something like this, that out of our control, you know. I had people in Snowmageddon and Ice-mageddon, whatever that thing that was that went through Texas, that weren't asking for a free day. And they were without electricity, without power, within the freezing cold, and of course I'm scrambling to help them, but still they didn't say, we need a free day or free, you know.
See, that's one of them things. Like, you got a big $1,500 booking, right? And that's one of the things we just talked about. Is it like you get a big, huge booking, now you get the high-end, the too high-end guest, now he wants everything pitch perfect, or you get the guy at the bottom who's just going to destroy the place. So it's like, I think that's one key performance indicator you got to find too. Where is the sweet spot for the perfect guest? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so I just thought that was humorous.
Yeah.
And I settled down from my anger, and I said, you know what? Tell him I'll give him a free day on his next stay. I thought that was a good, you know, and most of the times they're not going to come back, right? Most of the times they're not going to come back.
He might know that's what you're alluding to.
This guy, this guy might come back. Yeah, I want Christmas. No, that ain't happening. I might not even be, you know, my lease is coming up, so he won't even get his free day. Anyway, so it just, that was my, you know, olive branch that I offered to him. You can have a free day on your next visit. And I guess that calmed him down or whatever. But no, man, there's some people you can't please, man. I'm not expecting a good review. I don't care. That Airbnb page is already jacked up from you know, management decisions. So anyways, other than that, yeah, business is going strong. It's growing. A lot of people want us to do some management for them. And the biggest thing is getting more units. And so that's our hunt. We're hunting for more units, coming up with creative ways to do that. And we will talk extensively on the next show about that, about how to pick up more units, because that's what everybody wants to know. Everybody's trying to get into this, right?
How to pick up more units?
How to pick up more units.
I got to hear you what you got to say now. But no, that's a deep one. That's a deep one if you want to, yeah.
Anyways, we'll leave the fans on a cliffhanger right there.
Yeah.
Where can people find us, Myka?
Find us on IG. Email us at liveletthrive@gmail.com. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And thank y'all for continuing to listen to us, our edutainment, as some people call it. And thank you for continuing to listen to us. And we hope we are providing value to you, for you to grow your business or start your business.
I feel better after doing a show. I feel like we get a lot out in this show, man. We vent.
You talk to people who understand what you're going through.
Exactly. Oh man. Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll see you on the flip side.
We are out. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.